When you say that thought is our only problem, are you saying that our thinking, the whole of thinking is...
Thought is the only problem we have.
Is skewed, it's screwed, or is it our use of thinking that is our problem?
Actually, it's both. It's both. When we began differentiating, it was perfect. Creating a distinction between a grain of sand and 2 grains of sand. Those distinctions are huge and they're important. We've taken language to a place now where one word can mean how many things?
Oh, jeez.
A myriad of things. I complain to Marilyn all the time. The announcer gets on and says, "We've been this way for a century." I said, wait a minute now, let's see. I was following him just perfectly. We've been this way for a... Then he had to use century. I said, let's see, what is a century? Is that guy that... No, it's not that guy. Does a century, what does that century do? Doesn't he tell you to go here and go there?
If you're
that's a century.
He says
that's a century. So you're listening to the newscast and he's saying, for centuries we have been, and he's telling us what we've been, and I'm saying, let's see, century, that's not 5 years, this is 10 years, 15 years. No, a century is 100 years. What have we been doing now for 100 years? And he said, not only that, Britney Spears has now been, and I said, wait a minute, what have we been doing for centuries? Now that I know what a century is. But you see, that's the same thing that I talk about in this workshop and in the room when I say, if I'm speaking and you're thinking about it, you're missing what I'm saying. I just gave you an example of how that works. Only I used the word century to do it.
Yeah. So what do you need to do? Update language?
Please? Update yourself.
I don't know on vocabulary because most people, I would say most, have the idea that thought is intelligence or creativity.
Exactly. People do not have distinctions for themselves. People say they crash their domains. They say that a PhD or an MBA or MRS, I'll have to throw that one in, but my sister went to college to get her MRS. They say that those people somehow are intelligent, and there's no intelligence at all. There's no intelligence at all there. The greatest ignorance is in the Pope and the President and in the ones who have succeeded at the highest level on our planet.
Most people think that if you stop thinking, you can't change a tire. You know what I mean? That when you tell them, that thinking is the problem, that thoughts thinking them, they say, well, if I stopped thinking, I wouldn't be able to pour cereal in my bowl anymore.
Yeah, it is that way. I mean, that is the way people look at it because people crash their domains. They don't have an alive, aware mind that can look at one thing while they're looking at the world. See, it's not a function of that thing you sent me about the box, and the man. It's not that. It's a function of being able to see that grain of sand in the universe. And still see what?
See the universe.
And
that grain of sand.
The grain of sand. What's happened with us is all we see is if we lose our thinking, if we don't think, we won't be able to get the cereal in the bowl or out of it. Because thinking, well, you have to stop thinking. Yes, we need to escape from thinking us. Does that mean we'd have to stop thinking?
No.
No, it means I didn't need thought anymore right now. Does that mean I'm going to turn around and walk into this or walk into that? No, it means I don't need thought right now. Oh, but wait a minute, I want to write something. Then I need thought.
Yes. Yes. Well, another way of saying that would be perhaps that not allowing the thinking process to interfere, to park it to one side, is it?
Exactly.
The trouble with using language to make an analogy is that as you make the analogy, often I find that I get into more strife in the analogy than just saying nothing.
And I'll tell you why that is. It's because in every truth that you speak, the lie is already there.
Yes.
When you complete your statement, what you were saying is completely true. And then when you complete it, it's a lie. Because if you stop the thought in order to allow the intelligence, you see? But when you started into it, it was the truth.
That's right.
And still is the truth.
Yes, yes.
This is the most beautiful thing about being alive.
Yeah,
You can't die.
that's right. Yes.
You see what I'm saying? You
Yes.
can't die because the moment you have spoken the truth, it dies. You die.
Yeah.
Then you live.
Yes.
Then you live. And I can't even say again or next because that would be a continuum, wouldn't it? So you're born, you live, and you die. In an instant, like that. And you're born and you're...
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
So that kind of a person could never get stuck in marriage, couldn't get stuck in a religion, couldn't get stuck in the idioticness of killing to live,
Yes. Or doing harm to themselves.
or doing harm to themselves,
to their,
except
to their body.
except if that's the manner in which they showed up on the planet after a certain amount of time.
I mean, we were making analogies earlier on about the animal life as compared to humanity, and you don't see many animals with earrings and tats and
No.
makeup.
Animals are too smart to stick needles in themselves and put dye on it and color themselves all up.
Yeah.
I mean, you look in prisons and you'll see people that are, those are people who are, they're still tiny little babies looking for their mother to cut they're saying, Mom, please cut that cord. Please take the apron off.
For that matter, the choice of words apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently is something that's automatic. That there isn't a lot of thought that goes behind
Why is that?
picking of words.
Because thinking is thinking us. That's why. The belief in the self looking out creates the belief.